This is Thomas from Believe in the Run.
And this is Megan with Believe in the Run.
And today we're talking super shoes. What does super shoes mean?
Fast shoes?
So super shoes pretty much started with this shoe right here, the Vaporfly, and the next percent. And people started calling them super shoes because records started breaking, people really enjoyed how fast they were, and they were supposed to be, at that time, 4% faster than comparable marathon shoes. At the time, they were testing them against like the Streak and some other running shoes from Nike, and they were like, we're getting 4% better performance out of these shoes. Took everybody a little while to catch up, but they started to. And today we're talking about one of the brands that I feel has caught up is New Balance and the RC Elite 2. So Megan, let's get into this. Why don't we tell people a little bit about the Vaporfly first?
So the Vaporfly has a 40 millimeter stack in the heel, 32 in the forefront for an 8 millimeter drop. So tons of cushion, super light. My women's 7.5 is 5.5 ounces. So crazy light.
That is super light. My men's 10.5, 7.44 ounces or 211 grams. Super light, super cushion, like the amount of stack Megan just talked about it. 40 millimeters of stack, 32 millimeters of stack in the front. That's a lot of stack, that's a lot of cushioning, especially when you're doing those marathon miles. You're getting cushion under your feet and the plate brings it all together because that's what makes it kick.
And they pretty much keep these uppers super minimal. I mean, they're really, really thin all the way around. You have just a tiny bit of padding for comfort, but otherwise there is nothing up top.
And that's been one of the knocks on the shoe is the fit of the upper. And when you put this on, you do get a lot of gaping around your collar and it just doesn't look pretty. It feels pretty when you're moving, but it doesn't look pretty.
Yeah.
And that's probably the biggest knock on these shoes. What I do like about what they've done with this shoe is it's really hydrophobic, which means when you sweat, when you get wet, when you get rain conditions, this upper is not going to take on a lot of water.
And it'll cost you $250.
And then let's talk about the New Balance RC Elite 2, super cushed, super stack. What's the stack on these, Meg?
So very similar, you got 39, 31 for an 8 millimeter drop. This one is a little bit heavier, about an ounce. So my women's 7.5 came in at 6.4 ounces.
Yeah, you are losing a little bit of weight in this, but I think there's some mitigating factors for it. But mine weighs in at 8.6 ounces or 244 grams.
It's an ounce heavier, but here's what you're getting. You get a much better fitting upper. You have more comfort and padding through the collar and heel. You've got a wider toe box to accommodate more feet or foot shapes, and it's just a really comfortable shoe.
I think the cushioning in this is surprising that it's a little bit of a lower stack. I mean, we're talking millimeters, so it's not really that much, but it feels like there's more under the foot on this shoe.
Yeah, it's definitely a squishier ride. So if you like a softer landing, this is gonna be your shoe versus this one, which is definitely a little bit firmer, a little bit more pop.
Again, this one has a plate in it. It's got fuel cell technology versus the ZoomX technology in the foam. The upper, I do feel, fits better. You get a more traditional fit out of a running shoe.
Definitely.
They could probably drop some weight out of the upper, possibly. I don't know. My experience, I don't know which way you're leaning in these shoes, but I'm gonna maybe make a little bit of a surprise here and go with the New Balance RC Elite 2 over their traditional Vaporfly Next Percent.
So tomorrow, there's a marathon, you're racing, you're picking the RC Elite 2.
If it was between
RC
these
Elite.
two shoes, yes. Feel like the comfort level and the pop out of the fuel cell is a little bit more than the Next Percent. So you get a little bit of a softer landing, as Meg mentioned. You still get that toe off from the carbon plate. You still have plenty of rubber for the grip and traction. It has all the stuff, a good fitting upper. I do feel like it can do a lot of the things that Vaporfly can do, but give you just a little bit more of a comfort over those 26.2 miles.
All right, well, I'm gonna choose the opposite here. So I can't deny the pop and the light feel of the Vaporfly. It's the OG and it's still my favorite. It's still my go-to. This shoe is great, but I feel it's a little bit too squishy. You just don't get quite that pop that you want and that I love in the Vaporfly. One thing we did note, this one will cost you $225, so $25 less than the Vaporfly.
Durability,
I
man.
think you're gonna get more miles out of this one than the Vaporfly. This is still my pick.
Yeah.
But
I think you can get pretty solid amount of miles out of this one. The fuel cell doesn't die too quickly. You've got the plate in there. I think if you're really budget conscious and you know you're gonna want to race a half marathon, a full marathon, and maybe not spend $200 every time you do it, I think that this shoe could probably get you traditional miles out of it. You're talking 300 to 400 miles and still feeling pretty fresh. So that's it. That's pretty much a tie decision. I'm gonna go with the RC Elite 2.
I'm gonna go with the Nike Next Percent 2.
And that's between two shoes.